We've gotten to the point where we need to go ahead and set up a list view to display the place prediction results. So let's go ahead and see an example of what we're talking about. So if I click on search destination and I provide some search query, so as you can see, the prediction result is being displayed in a list. So here we have the main test and we have the secondary test properly displayed in a list view. So that's exactly what we need to go ahead and set up in this particular lesson. So without wasting any further time, let's get right into it. So first, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our Google Chrome so that we can see our prediction results. So if I go ahead and switch to a tree view, you can see that we have 5 predictions. Okay, so if I drop this down, we can see more information, but we're not actually interested in every single information here. So what we simply want to retrieve will be the main test and the secondary test, and then maybe the place ID. So that's basically the important information that we need to retrieve from this prediction result. So to be able to properly display this on our list view, the first thing we need to do will be to create a class. So I'm going to go to Android Studio and I'm going to go into data models. So we are going to create a class that is going to reflect the information that we want to take from our prediction result. So this is going to be a new file. So I'm going to name this file prediction. Alright, so here I'm going to name the class prediction. So like we said, there are only 3 fields that we're going to have in this class: the place ID, the main test, and the secondary test. Alright, now the next thing we need to do will be to go ahead and create the constructor for this class. So I'm going to have prediction. Alright, so here I'm going to have this the place ID and the main test and the secondary test. Alright, so at the end of the day, this class is actually going to help us to deserialize the data contained in the prediction result. One of the reasons why we are creating this class is to help us to easily deserialize the prediction result, and we already know that our prediction result is going to be a JSON response. We've already seen that in our Google Chrome. So to easily do this, I'm going to go ahead and say prediction dot from JSON. Alright, so here I'm going to pass in map of the type of string and dynamic. So I'm going to call this JSON. So this method is going to go ahead and easily retrieve the values of place ID, main test, and secondary test from inside our JSON response, right? So here I'm going to go ahead and say place ID will be equal to. So to confirm the exact part of the JSON where we are going to be picking these values, we can just go ahead and take one more look at our prediction results. So inside of each prediction, we want to retrieve the place ID. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. So here I can now have JSON and the key is going to be place ID. Now the next is going to be main test. So let's go ahead and get the JSON part for our main test. Okay, so for us to get to main test, we first of all need to seed into our structured formatting. Then we can now access the main test. Okay, so I can go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to have main test. Now for the secondary test, this is going to be equal to, we just need to go ahead and deserialize our prediction results. So I'm going to go into the search page and I'm going to scroll up to where we are performing the search. Right, now what I'm going to do will be to go ahead and confirm. So what I'm going to do will be to go ahead and confirm that our response is successful. So how to do that is by checking the status key. So we're going to go ahead and check the status key. So if the status key is okay, then we can now know that this request was successful. So we're going to return to Visual Studio. So I'm going to say if response of key status is equal to okay. So this means that the response is valid. Now what we need to do here will be to go ahead and retrieve the predictions. So I'm going to say var predictions. This will be equal to response, and I'm going to pass in the key of prediction, which is exactly what we have here. So this is what we are selecting. So we are actually selecting the predictions retrieved from the request, and we have 5 of them. Now the next thing we are going to do will be to go ahead and convert these predictions into a list, and the list is going to be of type of the prediction class that we just created. So let's go ahead and write this in code. So I'm going to go ahead and say var this list. This is going to be equal to predictions as list. So here I can now go ahead and say prediction dot from JSON E, and I'm going to go ahead and convert this to list. So what's going on is that we're actually looping through each of the predictions contained inside of this JSON. So I think I can just go ahead and rename this to prediction JSON. Alright, so I think this will actually provide more context. So this line of code will go ahead and convert the predictions into a list, which is this list. So we've successfully been able to convert the predictions into a list, and with this list we can now go ahead and display the results in a list view, and that's exactly what we need to do in the next lesson. So as soon as you're ready, head over to the next lesson so we can have our list view.